Hi, it's Cindy Morris with the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. Good evening and welcome to our fourth Buzz Chats. Very excited to have everyone tuning in tonight. And first, I'd like to just give you a little update on a few things going on at the foundation. We have been incredibly blessed in really getting out there and applying for some grants. So wanted to kind of put that out in the community and let people know. We are really actively putting a lot of time and money and effort into our little free pantries. So every distribution site for food from the district, we're having a makeshift portable pantry. So really good food offerings to add to our family's kind of variety in grabbing some food to go along with their breakfast and lunches. And then 17 of our schools have the little free pantry that's outside the school. Those are being fully stocked. And then we're helping some families that can't get out and taking them food as well. We're also, just like I said, out there actively applying for grants for a lot of basic needs support, which, you know, this time of COVID, it's important. So we'd like to thank everyone in the community. There's a lot of just individuals, there's a lot of organizations and private foundations granting money at this time. And at the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, we greatly appreciate that. So I'll go right into introducing our guest tonight. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Andre Allen, who is on our foundation board. He's one of our board of directors, and I love having Andre on our board. He is an alum of Peoria Public Schools, and he contacted us, and that doesn't happen always, but when it does, it's very special. He wanted to get involved with the school district, and he contacted the foundation, and he's been really, really a strong advocate, and he cares so much about our city and our school district. And I'll let Andre say a few words about himself, and then we do, our format is some questions and then maybe some personal information about him. So welcome, Andre. Thank you so much. And if you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, thank you so much, Cindy, for having me on Buzz Chat. Super excited to join you today. And thank you for all the great work that you are doing, leading the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. And it's a blessing for me to be a part of the board. As Cindy said, I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois, graduated from Peoria Public Schools. So I went to Woodrow Wilson, which is now Dr. Miles Sanders, Sterling Middle School, and then graduated from Richwoods High School, class of 2007. And then I enrolled at Illinois Central College for 2 years, finished up there. Then I transferred to Eastern Illinois University, where I received both my bachelor's and my master's degree. After graduation from grad school, I moved to Bloomington for a little while with my wife, Jaleisha Allen, and she worked in housing and I worked in academic advising at Illinois State. And even since I was relatively close to home, I was able to keep up with Peoria a little bit. And so I saw my cousin was getting involved with the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, Mariah Smith, and she was on the board at the time. And so I saw she was speaking at a school, one of the primary schools, maybe it was Franklin. And I said, wow, I would love to come back and speak at Peoria Public Schools and just, share my story. So as the kids said, I slid in the DM, which is direct message for those who aren't up on their social media verbiage. And the foundation was receptive, and they had a program which we still have called the Horizons Club, which brings in professional speakers from the community to talk at a number of the schools within Peoria Public Schools. And they said, hey, one of the options is Sterling Middle School. And I'm like, wow, I get to actually go back to my old stumping grounds and speak to some kids who were just like me, so many years ago, but still like me, still wearing the uniforms and things of that nature. So I got involved with that and connected with Cindy and Trish and Sarah, and the rest is history. And then they allowed me to join the board, and so I've been on the board now. This is actually year 3, ending year 3 for me. So time flies when you're having fun. Professionally, I work here in Peoria at Methodist College of Unity Point Health, serving as our dean of students in that role. So I'm over our campus housing and our student activities and career services, enforce our student code of conduct and handbook, supervise our volunteerism requirement, and just a number of other different things. I like to consider myself the liaison between our students and our faculty, staff, and administration at the college. I really try to be an advocate for our students in that role. And then outside of that, being on the board of directors of the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, but serving on a few other boards and committees within the area. Specifically, I'm on the committee for police and community relations, which is through the city of Peoria. Super excited about being on that. I'm actually going into year 2 of that, and actually was appointed chair about a week ago. So I'm super excited about that. Also serve on Peoria Promise, which supports students in the area to go to Illinois Central College. I'm definitely a super advocate for the community college. I think it's just a great opportunity for students to further their education. And so if I can be a part of helping that's great. And just a number of other things. My wife always says I have a hard time saying no, which I do, but I'm so passionate about, the progression of Peoria and just really wanting the best for our city. So anytime anybody reaches out to me to help out or assist with anything, I usually try to come. But right now it's getting a little tougher. Me and my wife are expecting baby number 3 here in a few weeks. So I'm getting a little busy, busier in that component. And then I'm also working on my PhD right now. So sometimes it's not enough hours in the day, but I just try to stay positive and continue to keep taking it one day at a time and trying to make a change in my city.
Well, you are appreciated, that's for sure. And so really with our first question, you really kind of talked about how you got involved in volunteering in Peoria. I mean, it's kind of been your passion. You already kind of talked about that, and you can tell why it's important to you. I mean, I think that you had just a great experience growing up in Peoria Public Schools, and you just really wanted to give back to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had just some fond memories. Some of my best friends, we have a group chat to this day. And, we're all in our 30s, married with kids, but we all met at Sterling Middle School, and that's rare, for you to keep that brotherhood, that bond. And so without Peoria Public Schools and having those memories, and I had great memories at Richwoods High School, playing football under Coach Semper and Coach Brown and just the guys that I met there, and the brotherhood and the bonds that we have. And now it's cool to see us going to each other's weddings, and we're all having kids, and our kids are going to be in kindergarten together now and stuff too. So it's I just want everyone to have that same experience if possible. That's why I've always been a supporter of Peoria Public Schools, and I'll continue to be one.
Right. Well, and you brought this up a few times. This is tell everyone about the Jaguars squad and how you got that up and going, and advice to others that they would like to start something like this. I mean, mentoring is a very important piece in students and culture and climate. And so tell the listeners what Jaguar Squad is and how you got this going.
Yeah, sure. So Jaguar Squad is a mentoring program that myself and 2 of my best friends, Ty Smith and Lawrence Harden, who, again, I met at Sterling, started about 2 years ago. Sterling Middle School's school counselor, Casey Amaya, who is awesome, probably one of the best counselors in the area, reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in, helping start a male mentoring program at Sterling Middle School? I've got about 15 fifth graders, all were African-American men, and she was like, I think you guys would be great for them. And they were a little bit of everything. You had some who were really, just really doing really good academically. Some were struggling. Some had great behavior, some had some behavior challenges. So it was a great mix. And so we started with those guys. And I was like, as we started doing it, I was like, we need a name. We need a name. And so I gave them responsibility for it. I said, come up with a logo, a name. We're going to vote for a president, a vice president. We're going to have a treasurer. We're going to like really take this serious. And so they came up with the name Jaguar Squad, and it just stuck. So those boys now are actually going to be 8th graders this year. So we stayed with the cohort model of keeping those same guys together. And we've lost a couple over time because some guys transfer away and things of that nature. So Miss Amada come to me and she'll say, hey, Andre, it's okay if we add 1 or 2 guys to replace those guys. And we're like, sure. And so right now our roster is back up to about 15, which is great. And with the program, we meet with them weekly during their lunch period. And then we get about a 30-minute buffer afterwards. So it's for about an hour, usually on Thursdays. We'll bring in guest speakers. We'll talk about everything from just making great decisions and where you want to be at in life and showing respect to your parents, your guardians, your teachers, the administration, and just talking about the importance of, decisions are free, but consequences cost. And, especially now they're about to be in 8th grade, they're not little boys anymore. They're starting to grow up and be teenagers, and society is going to look at them as men. And so I want my guys to be prepared for some of the things that they're going to encounter, because I want the best for them. And so we try to reward them, when they do well academically and they achieve, especially with positive behavior, with different field trips, and things of that nature. And this past Christmas, we were able to link up with Chicago Bears, and my buddy Sherrick McManus, who plays for the Bears, he connected us and said, hey, me and my wife would love to match some funds that the Bears have, and we want to support your group. And so we were able to get them Nintendo Switches and Jordan jumpsuits and all that cool stuff. And they were super excited about that. So, just really trying to reward those guys. I mean, they have a great support systems at home, but if we could just add that little bit of extra support, because it truly takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah. Well, it's so, I love that you started that kind of on your own, and it's back where you went to school. And I know we only hear really good things about it. And you're right, Casey and the principal there, I know they love having you there and your mentoring group.
Yeah. And I would just say, for those who would love to do something similar, a lot of schools would love for that community support. That's one thing that I've realized. I have great relationships with Principal Lane at Sterling, Casey Ahmad and the administration and the faculty, the staff. Mr. Walker, who's the custodian there, was the custodian when I went to Sterling. So, you go in there and it's just all love. But you can establish those same relationships, especially if you're from Peoria, reach out to your old middle school and say, and ask for a meeting with the principal or the counselor and say, hey, I would love to support, and don't overthink it. It could start as small as, hey, I would just love to reward some kids with some Little Caesars pizzas one day, and just build from there, because the support is definitely needed. Our faculty, staff, and administration at Peoria Public Schools, they do the best they can, but they need support from entities such as the Peoria Public Schools Foundation and the various non-for-profits that we have in the area. But even then, there's still those needs. So if you're a community member that wants to help, reach out and, especially contact the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. We would love to get you connected with the school.
Right. Yep. Well, and thank you for that. I know it's a commitment. And I know that whenever you signed up, I mean, that's the biggest, thing when you start a program or working with kids. I'll never forget Renee Andrews at Tree Win, when I told her I was going to do Horizons at her school. I said, this is my first time at it. And she said, the only thing I'm asking you is, if you start this, you need to finish it. And you don't these kids need consistency, and they need to start being there for them. They need that, consistency, and they don't want to feel like they've been left or anything like that. So
they'll call you out too. They'll call you out. I had to miss a couple in a row, but luckily there's 3 of us that do it. So if I can't make it, Ty and Lawrence can make it, or vice versa, because we're all professionals and life happens. So I had to miss 2 in a row. One was for work, and then one, my daughter had a doctor's appointment, and I came in that 3rd week, and they were like, where you been at, bro? And I'm like, oh man, my daughter was sick, man. I'm sorry, But then also showing them the 3 of us are fathers, the 3 of us are husbands. So we have life. And so it's just having those priorities and being a man and balancing those. And ultimately they respect that.
Right. So you are a Peoria Public Schools parent, and what attracted you to having your daughter start? I mean, I think that you're such a proud alum,
Mhm.
but did you kind of know right, like as soon as you had you knew that your children were going to go to PPS? I mean,
Yes, yes, yes. If I was going to be in Peoria, they were going to go to PPS. And it was just for the simple fact of the experience that I had, but also I wanted her to have a quality education in a diverse environment. I wanted her to go to school with kids that look like her and kids that don't look like her. And I think Peoria Public Schools, in my opinion, presents the best opportunity for that.
and so your daughter, she started at Valeska, right?
Hmm.
And then tell the viewers where's she going? She's kind of moving on, right?
Yeah, yeah, she's heading to kindergarten this fall.
Yeah.
So she's doing big things. So she was at Valeska for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And while she was at Valeska, she enrolled in a pilot program that Peoria Public Schools started in, which allowed those kids in preschool to learn Spanish concurrently, which is a great opportunity. And so now those kids, essentially, they're trying to have a cohort model where those kids now will go from Valeska to Whittier Primary School. And so, although we don't live in the boundary of Whittier, excuse me, our home school is Charter Oak, which is a great school as well. So it was a tough decision, but for her to continue that opportunity at Whittier, I mean, that's a private school, opportunity in public schools. So
Right.
we couldn't pass that up. So she'll be
Yeah.
going to Whittier this fall, and she'll continue learning Spanish concurrently all the way through fourth grade, and then they're trying to keep those kids going into middle school. So who knows? Maybe one day in 20 years she'll be thanking me when she's an ambassador to Mexico or Spain
Yeah.
or Brazil or anything, because she can speak Spanish and her dad and her mom made her do this program and she loves it. But some of the things, like, she'll watch different things, we'll try to keep her going, and I just love just seeing how she's just really just soaking this all in, and it's just a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and you probably know this, but Trisha's boys, Alex and Charlie, both went to Whittier.
Yeah, yeah.
Trish was the president of the PTO at Whittier.
Yeah.
And you probably also know that Dr. Crud at one time was the principal at Whittier.
Yeah.
And it was a blue ribbon school. I think she helped, get that status there. So it's a wonderful school, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm super, super excited about it. And, we know that the fall is going to look a little different, but, we're still staying positive and we're ready to roll that Whittier and get this kindergarten going.
Wow, exciting. Okay, so let's do maybe a little personal questions now. I've kind of asked everyone this.
Mhm.
So this unprecedented time of COVID and the last 3 months, there's a lot of ick about it. And, in the beginning, there was just a lot of shock, and it's a lot of hardships, financial hardships,
Yeah.
livelihood, problems with this pandemic we're in. And today, what if there was a silver lining for you and your family because you were locked down? What would you say it was for you and your family?
Oh, it just allowed us to spend just quality time. I'm guilty of just kind of getting caught up in my own stuff and running around, and whether that's work and the different civic and community engagement opportunities I'm involved in. And my wife is super supportive of that. Don't get me wrong, but we have two small kids. We have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so they're a handful. And then now she is 9 months pregnant, so I got a chance to really sit down and see like what she does on a daily. And I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. So I'm able to start spending that time. So I recently started returning to work kind of a couple of days a week. And now if I leave before my son walks me downstairs, he will flip out because he's used to me being at home.
Right.
He's used to that. And so those are things that I wouldn't have gotten pre-COVID. And then also now it allows me to realize, okay, you know what, I need to step it up a little bit more at home because I see the things that my wife is doing. on top of, she was a full-time professional as well too, pre-COVID as well. So, that was a silver lining, just realizing, and enjoying some key moments with my kids, and
Mhm.
spending some quality time, and then also just kind of able to do some self-reflection. I think that was
Mhm.
very important. I think that this was a time where, everything just kind of stopped for a second, and you got a
Mhm.
really chance to look yourself in the mirror to determine if you like what you saw, and if there
Mhm.
was things that you wanted to do, and you
Mhm.
needed to refocus. This was a good opportunity to do that. So I would say those were the two silver linings: just that quality time with the family, and also a period of self-reflection.
Besides being there, more for Jaleisha and the kids, and that, would you say there was something that you stepped your game up with, like, housework or yard work or cooking or laundry, like things you normally wouldn't have done? Or is there something that kind of like you really stepped your game up with?
Doing home projects. So, we purchased our first home in December of 18. And so
Mhm.
a year went past, and we realized that we had boxes that we ain't went through yet,
Yeah.
So the cardinal rule is, if you haven't opened that box in a year, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need it. So just doing home projects. And I wish I was half the handyman my father is. I'm not, but I've been trying to like step my game up. So I've been like putting together patio sets that I'm currently sitting on right now, feeling pretty good, feeling
Wow.
pretty stable. Power washing the house. Didn't realize how fun. It's kind of addictive, honestly, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing stuff like that. Me and my dad have been on the landscaping, which has been great.
Mhm.
Pouring mulch, and really realizing how committed you have to be to like your grass. Like, you have to water your grass a lot if you want it to be
Uh-huh.
legit. And I never realized that at all, too. So just doing those projects around the house, and seeing, the commitment that it takes to be a homeowner. Like, we always lived in apartments, so I didn't realize the commitment. And so now I'm able to like sit down and like, I pay attention to certain things, like, oh man, I need to go cut the grass, or oh man, I need to go pick up them weeds, or there's always something. There's always something.
Yeah.
So I'm
Very-
enjoying just this time to get some things done around the house. We're working on trying to finish our basement right now, so we can have a little more expanded space now that we're going to be a family of 5 here soon. And those are just things that I don't know would have really either got my attention or even gotten done without the pandemic slowing things down.
Right. Is Jaleisha doing okay? And she's due this month, right? With your third?
Yeah, so we're due July 29th. And we'll see. Our first two kids were full term, so we'll probably ride it out this whole month. And she's doing
Mhm.
as well as she can as someone who's 9 months pregnant. I know you've been down that road before, and
Mhm.
shout out to the women. I couldn't do it, honestly. I could not do it. I'm a crybaby, so but
Yeah.
she's holding it down. She's a trooper, and I'm kind of glad that I'm around the house a little bit more, because it's getting a little harder for her to chase around the kids. Drayton just turned 2 last month, so that little guy is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a tank, and I love it. But he's a tank. He's a handful. Barbies are going to be 6 in September. She needs to be entertained and things too.
Yeah.
So I can kind of sit back and allow her to sit down. I told her earlier. I said, when I put the kids down, I said, you need to go lay down, and I don't want to see you until 3 o'clock. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, you need to go chill out for 3 hours, because she'll want to go do something. She'll want to go work on a project, put something
Yeah.
together, stuff like that too. And I'm like, you got to sit down and get some rest. So,
Yeah.
but she's taking it like a champ, and we'll have our little princess here in a few weeks.
Oh, super exciting. Yeah. By the way, I really like your shirt.
Oh, slight shameless plug.
You're promoting. I love it.
Yeah.
So, um, okay, back to our questions. As an educator yourself at Methodist, what are your thoughts about the direction of post-secondary education?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Speaking as Andre Allen, higher ed professional and not necessarily dean of students at Methodist College, I will say that I think post secondary education is going to be evolving. I think we're seeing that right now. I think COVID has allowed higher ed to really almost fully transition to a digital format. It was already heading there. You see these robust online institutions, whether it's like Southern New Hampshire and things of that nature. And so now I think that we're going to see a lot of colleges either have to adapt to that fully.
Mm.
I think that students are seeing that, hey, I can get the same quality education via Zoom or via StreamYard or something like that than
Mhm.
fully coming on campus. But the ripple effect of that is you have colleges who have invested a lot in their infrastructure when it comes to the residential life complexes and the athletic facilities and all these different things that they've built to give that college student that holistic experience. And now students are, because of the pandemic, they might have to watch their penny. They want to go to a robust 4-year institution, but now they're like, that's pretty high. I don't know. Maybe I should look at my community college for a couple years and save some money as well that way. Or maybe I should look at one of these schools where I can get a quality education via online and kind of stay at home. So I think that we're going to see a change in that depending on how the economy recovers. And then I also think that students are going to be more strategic with their college choices. I think that the days of students kind of just picking a college and just being undecided for 6 years and graduating with a degree in general studies is gone, because students are seeing that there's not a automatic dividend with a college education.
Mhm.
I think that my generation, your generation as well too, you assume when you graduate from college, you shake the president's hand, you get your degree, and you're going to start off making $80,000 a year. And we
Mhm.
understand that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Life will deliver you some humble pie really fast.
Yeah.
And then you still have this massive student loan debt. So I think that the pandemic is going to make people be very strategic about the colleges they pick based off affordability. I think
Mhm.
it's going to make people be very intentional about what academic programs they choose, because they're going to want that immediate return on their investment. So if you go to school for accounting, you know what you're going to be when you graduate, an accountant. If you go to school to be for nursing, you know what you're going to be when you graduate, nursing.
Mhm.
And some of the other majors that don't necessarily give you that automatic return, or, for instance, my undergrad was in communication studies. Great major,
Mhm.
had a great experience.
Mhm.
But when you graduate with a degree in communication studies, you don't exactly know what you're going to do with that. Are you going to, I remember
Mhm.
one time at Thanksgiving and somebody was like, are you going to be a communicator? Like, what are you going to do with that? And I could be like, well, I could do marketing, or I could do this, or I can do that. But there isn't that set thing. And in today's job market, unfortunately, you can't have that unknown. You want to know, when I graduate and I walk across stage, I can find a job, and a job that's going to allow me to either pay back the student loan debt or provide the quality of life that I'm looking for. So I think we'll see a lot of students being very strategic with their college choices moving forward, even more than we ever have had, especially with the rising costs of a college tuition.
But I'm telling you, like, I mean, the whole COVID thing, it's like Taylor is graduating as a senior, and her mindset was, okay, she's getting her degree, she's gonna get a great job,
Yeah.
and she wanted to really kind of fly away and move away for a little while. And then this hit, and then so there's a lot of people, businesses closing and people not hiring and all that. So it's a little sad that she's kind of like, wow, the rug got pulled under her feet. But we're just trying to remain positive and hopeful, and she's finishing up a few classes this summer online. But Eureka she just told me yesterday that Eureka is doing their graduation they were doing in May. They have set a date for August 15th, and they're going to do it at their football field.
Okay.
And they're going to, I think, spread out, and the students have to wear masks. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that they went ahead and set a date, and they're moving forward with their graduation. I mean, it's delayed, but they're still having it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the class of 2020, whether you're graduating from high school, which I feel a little uh more sorry for the high schoolers, because you
Mhm.
miss out on, your spring sports, you can't run those back. You missed
Mm-mm.
out on prom, you missed out on graduation, which is tough. But our college graduates and things of that nature, I think you're in a very unique space, because you're going to have a level of resiliency that a lot of people before you aren't going to have. And so when you experience things moving forward in your life, you're going to be like, man, this ain't nothing. I remember when I graduated college in 2020 during the pandemic, I didn't know what was going to happen. So this little
Yeah.
problem right here, this is a anthill compared to the mountain that I encountered in 2020. So I think Taylor and the rest of those college grads, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I think they're going to just have to be, again, a little bit more strategic, and may have to
Mhm.
be a little more humbler when it comes to taking certain positions that they wouldn't have taken, just to kind of get their
Right.
feet in the door and,
Mhm.
start building some work experience. But I think things are going to get better. I've been seeing some early reports that it won't look like 2008, which is great. And,
Mhm.
we just got to continue to stay positive and keep priming the pump.
One other thing, that, and Trish helps with the questions here, but one was um, that you had an interesting conversation on Facebook about the ACT, SAT, and how reliable it is in determining the future academic success. Maybe you have some thoughts based on your own journey, because I know I saw that too. You put out there, and if you maybe just want to share a little information about that for people.
Oh yeah, sure. So there was a meme that was out there and it said, now that we're grown, say what your ACT score was. And I was like, wow, this was something like I got more comfortable with sharing this testimony, like when I do guest speaking and stuff, sharing
Mhm.
especially with younger people, because when when I was a junior in high school and I retook it again my senior year, I took it twice and I got a 16 both times. And so after the second time and another wasted $80, my mom said, okay, you're done. So what's next? So I started looking at the community college option, and it was the best. Actually, going to ICC was the best decision that I ever made, because if I'd have went away to a traditional college at age 18, I would have been back 3 months later because I wasn't mature enough. But I shared that to say, one, I wanted to be vulnerable, because I think a lot of times people see, if they see that you might have a certain level of success or something, they don't realize maybe the trials and tribulations that you went through. And to
Mhm.
realize, and my goal, and I had other people sharing their journeys. Hey, I got a 19, or hey, I got a 14, and hey, I got this, and now these people are directors of this, CEOs are over here, and things of that nature. And just
Mhm.
letting people know that it doesn't matter where you come from, it's just about where you're going. And so,
Mhm.
I mean, we understand that standardized tests, they're culturally biased. I mean, it's been proven. And I think that's why a lot of institutions are going ahead and waiving that requirement, because it's not a great indicator of the success of a student.
Mhm.
It really isn't. And so I'm glad that some institutions are going away with that, because I think that when you look at the admission of a student, you need to look holistically. There's so many different things that a person can bring to the table, and that standardized test just isn't going to demonstrate all of that data.
Right. Yep. Well, and look at you. You're getting your PhD now. I mean, you've done very well for yourself. So,
Yeah, the interesting thing is my dream school to go to after high school was Illinois State. I wanted to go to ISU so bad, being a Peoria guy. I'm sorry, I know Bradley, but I was
yeah.
like, all right, if I'm gonna, go to college and spend those dollars, I need to get out of Peoria, get a different experience. So I want to go to Illinois State, and couldn't get in because, again, the ACT thing. And
Yeah.
then I end up later on in life working at Illinois State as an academic advisor for like 2.5 years. And now I'm in semester 3 of my doctoral program through Illinois State.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, like, again, that door closed for me, 10, 12 years ago. And then I ultimately end up working for them. And then now I'm in school there working on my PhD. So I just share that to say, you just never know what God truly is going to do for you. And, don't be afraid of your failures. I had to get comfortable with that. So I'm not sitting here to say, like, hey, you need to get over that. Like, no, but don't be afraid to share that, share that
Mhm.
testimony with others, because you never know who you can motivate with your story.
Yeah. So, when you came to town, or back to town, and you kind of proactively reached out to us at the time, and you're in year 3 with working on our foundation board, really it was kind of your first, well, you've been now, you're on other boards and very active in the community and ran for city council, but you're when you joined our board, it was really kind of your first board experience
Mm-hmm.
involved in the community.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say has been the best part of being on our board, and what have you enjoyed most about being a Peoria Public Schools Foundation board member?
Yeah, I think off top, interacting with your staff, You and Jen Adler and Sarah Oakford and Trish O'Shaughnessy, you guys are amazing. I mean, getting a chance to work with you all and see the grind that you all put in is so rewarding. It's so motivating. We have a great board. You all do a great job about recruiting people who are intentional, who are supportive. And I remember one day you said something that really stuck with me, and you said, when you're on these boards and you're on these committees, you need to contribute at least one of three things: either your time, your talent, or your treasure. And that really stuck with me, and as somebody who's a young father with a young family, I might not have the most treasure, but I have time and I have my talent. And so that really stuck with me. And just the things that our board does in our entity, the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, is very unique. We support Peoria Public Schools through, our uniform fund and things of that nature that is very intentional to the success of students. And so, just working with you all and the mission, we do fun events. I mean, everything from, I know certain things kind of got rearranged, but we still have our golf outing coming up in a few weeks. That's always fun. The 365 breakfast, the wine and whiskey walk, the schoolhouse open that Dan Adler has got going now. Shout out to Dan Adler's wrapping up 5 years on the board. He's amazing. He's done some great things for that board, and we wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. But, we just do fun stuff, and we have a good time, and we support our students. And so I've really enjoyed it. And again, you all did give me my first board experience, and it really was appreciative, because I got the chance to learn so much just about budgets and logistics and what goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see.
Right. And I have to give credit to when I started in 2010. Well, I started in the school district in 2009, but for the foundation in 2010. Glenn Barton was on the board, and he was part of the team that hired me. Working with him was an incredible experience. And I remember, asking him at various times for his advice, because, being a former Fortune 500 CEO at Caterpillar, and just what all he did in the world and our community, I just admired him so much. But he told me, that's his advice was, whenever you join a board, that you have to give one of those three things. And if you give all three, great. But I think it's important to have a real diverse board and different ages and things like that. But yeah, he was the one that said that. And I truly do believe that you have to give your time, treasure, or talent. And then another piece of advice that I got, which I know you would agree with, is, and I'll never forget this, Steve Weaver was on the board when I was hired, and I asked his advice, and he said, for nonprofits and, this mission and kind of work we do, he said that the most successful organizations are those that are saving lives or changing lives. And while we're not really saving lives at the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, we are definitely changing lives. And that is very important. And with our exclusive mission to our school district, it's just an honor for me to have the job that I do, and then get to have wonderful staff like we do, and then great board members. And you've been wonderful to work with. I've really, really enjoyed what you've brought to the organization. And I think I thank you enough, but thank you for that.
Man, thank you so much. It's been an honor, honestly. I enjoy it, and we're going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about your thoughts on the future of Peoria? Hopes for your hometown. It's a crazy time, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, well, Peoria's always been a resilient city, and we always reinvent ourselves. When we were the whiskey capital of the world, and then we became the home of one of the largest manufacturers in the world with Caterpillar, and now we're this booming We have this booming healthcare system with sector, excuse me, when you think of Unity Point Health and, St. Francis, and then now we have the University of Illinois Med School downtown, and then, we have supportive entities such as Methodist College supporting the endeavors. So, I'm really hopeful for Peoria. I really am. I think right now we have the opportunity to really diversify our interests. I mean, we still are embedded in manufacturing. Caterpillar has a big presence here. You got Komatsu, things of that nature. I just talked about the healthcare system. We have some of the most generous non-for-profits probably in America. I mean, we have so many nonprofits because there's so many people that want to help and do work of the city. So I think we'll be fine. I think that right now we have some opportunities to make ourselves attractive. We need to continue to keep growing our business sector and addressing things such as unemployment, especially within our African American community. I think that's very important. I think that we need to address some of our housing and infrastructure issues that we have here in Peoria as well too. And we just have certain challenges that urban cities like ours have, and that we're not immune to it. And so we know what those challenges are, but I think we have a lot of great opportunities to affect change. And one thing I always say that I love about Peoria is you can move the needle faster in Peoria than you could if you were in a Chicago or a Dallas or Atlanta. There's not that much bureaucracy here in Peoria that there is in some of those other cities. If you want to have a meeting with your board member for Peoria Public Schools for your district, you can do that. Same with city council, same with the park district. Versus if you were in a bigger city, you might get the admin of this person and the admin of that person. And by the time you get to the person you want to meet to, you don't forget what you wanted to ask them. We don't have a lot of that red tape here in Peoria. And so I think that we have people who are committed to the change. I'm excited for what the future holds. And, I just continue to want to be part of that change.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask you, and I've asked the other guest, is this is more personal again, but so have you been watching any special like Netflix shows or movies, anything like that?
So we watched Tiger King. That was like in the beginning of the quarantine. It was weird, but I just couldn't turn it off. It was like the craziest thing, like Joe Exotic and that whole thing. So that was wild. We started watching the show called Oval, which is by Tyler Perry, comes on BET. So it's about the 46th president and his wife and just the drama that they have. And, so that's kind of interesting, especially because I'm kind of into politics. So I was like, wow, okay. So we've been watching that. My wife just wrapped up a show called You on Netflix. I got through season 1. It was kind of creepy, but she finished season 2. So we've been watching that, but we're always listening. And then we also finished Ozark. That was a good one as well too. So we try to sneak them in when we can. Every time we have a child, we always find a new series because we're at home. So like we had Drayton, we like binge watched Power. When we had Barbie, I remember it was Law and Order. And when we have a little dream here in a few weeks, we'll find another show to binge watch because we're going to be up early mornings and late nights.
So what's Barbie's favorite like show, or what does she like to watch?
She likes to watch Ladybug and Cat Noir. So that's like a little action figure show on Netflix. That's kind of like her go-to. She loves the Minions, so we watch like Despicable Me at least like 6 times a week in this household. I've been trying to put her on some of the old school movies though, like that I grew up on, like the Toy Stories, the Lion Kings, the Aladdin. Now that she's getting a little older as well too. So she's like, she loves those. And then Drayton, he loves Blippi. That's his homie. So we did a little Blippi theme for his birthday a couple weeks ago. But yeah, he's all about Blippi.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I hope that you guys have a good summer. You will, because you're going to have a new baby soon, and I wish you and Jaleisha really well with the baby and having a party of 5 now coming.
Yeah, we're deep.
And thank you again for all you do in the community. I know you do so much for Peoria Public Schools and Peoria Public Schools Foundation, and you just really do care about our school district and city, and It's been great working together, and I'm so thankful to call you a friend now. So I hope you have a great July 4th weekend. Are you just hanging out at home? I mean, there's no fireworks really.
Yeah, so I'm gonna host my parents and my brothers, and we'll have the kids together. We'll blow up this pool that we finally got our hands on, so I'm excited about that. Probably cook some burgers and do some sparklers for the kids, and that'll be about it. We'll keep it low key, and but the good thing about holidays, they're good excuses to get you around your family and your friends and things of that nature. So we're gonna enjoy it the best we can, and appreciate these few days off from work, and then get back to the grind on Monday.
Okay. Well, tell Jaleisha hi, and you have a great weekend. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Next week, we're going to take a break. And then up next, we're in the next few weeks after that, we're trying to get a principal to come on, a high school principal and a teacher. So those are some guests that are on the docket. And thank you for tuning into Buzz Chats, and everyone have a good evening and a good 4th weekend. Thanks, Andre.
Yep. Take care.